I'll get it to him.
Will Sean Mannion, in your opinion, in 2026 be the best fit that Jalen Hurts has had?
No. I don't see that. I don't see that. Best fit, I mean, Shane was a great fit. They kind of worked really well because both of them were kind of coming into their own. You know, in a way, it's easier when the quarterback and the coach both don't have an identity because you're both finding yourself. You're both finding what works versus, like, for example, a guy like Kellen Moore. He knows what he wants to do. You're not going to change that guy. You know what I mean? Like, once the zebra's got its stripes, it's got its stripes. So I think when there's a like that fit with Shane was so good because Jalen was finding himself as a player and Shane was finding himself as a play caller. And I think both of them, you know, kind of relied on each other so much that it worked. You know, it's like I think sometimes there's butting in the heads because people get stuck in their own ways of how they want to do things. And really the best way to make something work, you know, is sacrifice for the other. You know, I lift you up, you lift me up, and that way we all lift up together, you know? So I don't think it's going to be better than Shane was. No, I have a hard time saying that.
And I'm going to ask you this question here because to me, I think this goes right down the lane here. You know, when Jalen the other day was at the podium and he said something about building chemistry, and he says he likes where they are building chemistry. And I'm like, you had no chemistry. You didn't build chemistry with Devontae. You didn't build chemistry with Mekhi Lemon. Am I right to say this, though? Maybe the guy he was talking about building the chemistry with was Sean Mannion. And that for him, it's more. What do you think is more important, Zander? Building the chemistry with Sean Mannion or with the collective group of wideouts?
If you're in, they're going to be there.
Yeah, but to me, wasn't it a problem last year with KP putting those guys in winning situations? Jalen was not on the same page.
This is where the dilemma comes with the way the Eagles are run. Because if
I'd rather have my quarterback on the same page with my OC than my guys.
I don't disagree with that, but the problem in Philly is that it's now become like, for example, if Jalen gets on the same page with Mannion, and let's say they go to the NFC Championship game or whatever, Mannion's probably going to get hired and be gone. Versus AJ or Jalen's still going to line up with Devontae Smith next year. He's still going to line up with Mekhi Lemon next year. He's still going to line up with, you know, I think maybe Goddard, who knows, Saquon.
Yeah, but
so that's the only common denominator in this league.
Yeah, but when you have a different, we now have seen this because it's been enough of a test, right? Well, just because you have the same guys in the building, if you don't have the same voice in the building, you're not getting the same result. Every year that Jalen Hurts has been a starting quarterback has had a different voice in his ear, right? And all 5 years have had different results. He's never been the same quarterback year in and year out.
No, I know. And that's challenging for him to do.
That's challenging for anybody to do in any job.
Correct. I agree.
Okay, so to me, Z, I'd rather have him on the page. Dude, get us in a position to play. Then player accountability has to take over. Do your fucking job, guy. Show up. Make a play. Go play. Players overplay. But a coach can matter if you're putting him in poor situations. Kevin Patullo was a great example of this. He knew how to draw up X's and O's, right? He could draw up a pass route. He could draw up offensive play. Could he call it, though? No. So when I heard Jalen say that, I was going to kill him on it going, you didn't build any chemistry up with anybody this camp. You've built it up, but maybe you did build it up with somebody. Maybe you've built it up with this new OC. And maybe you and him. I think he likes this guy.
Like each other.
Yeah. I think that's a big deal.
But remember, there could be some like self-serving things just there from a sense of Jalen knows he has to have a better relationship this time. Like even if he doesn't like him, he can't treat it like he did Patullo because
so you think he's got to be more engaged instead of just being a player?
Yeah, I think he knows that.
Maybe that's what he learned last year.
I mean, and that would be a good thing to learn. But it does seem like he likes the way that Sean is communicating with him.
I wonder also, Zander, if it gets to a point where Jalen Hurts finally says this, hey, Nick, shut the fuck up and let me and him take care of this. We got this here too.
Now, I remember Jalen is he's a coach's kid. He's not the type of dude that would upset the order of business, even if he disagrees with it. That's my opinion of him. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just don't think Jalen is, I don't think he's that type of guy. I think he's bought into the collective and he says that. And I think he believes it to the point where I don't think he would say that to the head coach.
I'm going to give you an example, and you tell me if you think a quarterback should act like this. I wonder if how many people saw this too. This was a couple years ago, Zander. This was on the Kansas City sideline. Eric Bieniemy comes over to the sidelines on Mahomes, and he's showing him a play. And Mahomes went like this. He turned his head, and he just went like this. That shit's stupid. And all of a sudden, he took the headsets off, and he gave him the playbook, Eric Bieniemy, and went like this. And Andy had to come over and go like this. Hey, you too. And Mahomes walked away. Well, Bieniemy that year was replaced. And he was replaced, and he went on that little tour that everyone thought he was going to get head coaching jobs. He never even got a fucking sniff to anything because the guy was a clipboard holder in Kansas City, and he's back being a clipboard holder in Kansas City again. But Mahomes looked at him and went, that fucking play sucks. And you saw him say that, and he takes the headsets off, gives them to Mahomes. Mahomes goes, fuck you, walks away. Andy comes over and says, whoa. He replaced him that offseason. When does it get to a point where, Jalen Hurts takes more control of the sidelines, the direction of the football team, and have to worry about – I don't want Jalen to have to worry about a coordinator next year. I want Jalen to be more of this should be Jalen's offense.
I agree.
Sean Mannion's offense.
I know what you're saying. Like Tom Brady took control,
Yeah. Whether it was Bill O'Brien, whether it was Josh McDaniels, that was Tom Brady's fucking offense.
Right.
He's over on the offensive sideline screaming at the O-line or Amendola to run a route.
Well, I do wonder, it's a good point. I mean, you would want to see Jalen take that type of step forward in terms of owning it. Maybe he doesn't feel as concrete on his standing in the organization as he once did.
And maybe they make him feel like that on purpose.
Well, maybe, they didn't give him the new contract. You would think if they were as locked in on his vision for the future, they would re-up the deal. They wouldn't wait. Why wait? The price is going up, So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot there, but I would agree with you that I think I'd like to see Jalen take more steps forward in that regard. Oh, take ownership of it. Because you're going to be the only common denominator, success or failure. Failure, maybe not, but we'll see.
That's right.